A little over a year ago, the state agency known as the Washington Military Department, consisting of the National Guard and Emergency Management, conducted a massive exercise to learn how we could better prepare for a big earthquake. Like all hazards, the National Guard would be in a position to deal with the aftermath of a nuclear disaster, but was specifically blocked from preparing for an evacuation ahead of a nuclear attack.
Because of paranoia and maybe scared that preparing for war would lead to war, legislators back in the early 80s set up this silly system where we're prohibited from planning for relocation or evacuation in the event of a nuclear war.
Senator Mark Miloscia is a Federal Way Republican, but he's helping lead a bipartisan effort to get that law eliminated. And nuclear war is something he knows a bit about. During the early 80s, he was trained as a B-52 bomber pilot, serving in the Strategic Air Command in North Dakota, prepared to drop nukes if necessary.
This law was put on the books. It hampers our emergency management department. In fact, it's something that I think would, given light of what's going on with North Korea, just doesn't make sense anymore to do that.
It is now assumed that a North Korean intercontinental ballistic missile could reach not only Seattle and the northwest coast, but as far east as Chicago. We would be the closest in the continental U.S. to North Korea, but Miloscia believes we have time before that threat is fully realized, maybe 3 years.
I don't think we should start panicking yet, but getting ready to overturn this law and making sure our emergency department does the right planning starting next year, I think, is a good plan.
Once the old law was discovered, Miloscia signed on with Democrat Dave Frock of Seattle to get a bill moved through the first special session last spring, but it died in committee. He's already working to get it introduced again in the next regular session.
Since the State Government Committee was already planning to update our emergency planning for a large earthquake in the Puget Sound, it makes sense to update this statute at the same time, so we can improve our planning for both earthquakes and for nuclear strikes.
Now, Senator Miloscia thinks the bill will sail through the next regular session with hearings on both preparing for earthquakes and now nukes expected even in September and October. They said really the reason they couldn't get it through that special session was that was dominated by the McCleary decision, and usually extra stuff that kind of gets tossed in just doesn't gain any traction. He's expecting that to be much different in several months.
Yeah, seems like common sense. When we were kids, the Cold War threat was very real, Glenn.
Right.
Times have changed. What's the difference between that era and what we're seeing?
I think in that era you were looking at what was called MAD, mutually assured destruction, between the United States and then the Soviet Union, which was then very much in business. Now we're looking at a much smaller threat, but a threat that has continued to grow. It's they were saying messages of peace going, we probably weren't going to survive anyway. This is a much different situation, and Miloscia and others think that this would be survivable, not if you were at the 0 point, but if you were further away and if we had some sort of a warning.
All right, Glenn, thank you so much.